this time, we'd ask everyone to stand as we get ready for our invocation by Reverend Tommy Rogers, pastor of Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church. Pastor Rogers, can you also lead us in the pledge as well?
Let us bow. Merciful and Heavenly Father, we bless your name this evening. We thank you, Lord, for all that you're doing in this great, wonderful city, Lord. We thank you for these individuals who have placed their lives on the line to give us guidance and leadership, Lord. We pray, Lord, for the progress and the prosperity of Palatka. Lord, we know that all of the kids that are here today, they have prospered because you've had your hand on them. We thank you for all that you're doing. We thank you for what you have done. But Lord, we even give you praise for all the things that you have in store for this great city. So Lord, we just want to again, with all of our hearts and all of our desires, just place our face to you today. That this meeting will be all about the progress of this area. And we'll be also careful that when you give us the victory, that we will give you the praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Rogers. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hill.
Here.
Vice Mayor Brown. Present. Commissioner Borum.
Present.
Commissioner Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner McCaskill. Here. All members are present, accounted for, and you have a quorum.
Thank you. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes from our April 4th, 2018 workshop and also our April 26th meeting? Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion?
Question.
Questions called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to a full public recognition section for today. So today we've got several items on the agenda, which means that our citizens have been extremely busy during what is always our festival season, but also just a great time in Palatka. First up, we're going to have Gay Esperson come forward, along with facilitators and friends from our race issue study circles. You can come up here. Guys, just kind of stand along the front for me. Perfect.
Good evening. Oops. Good evening. My name is Gay Esperson, and my name is Gay Esperson. Is that better? And I am here on the request of Mayor Hill to talk about race issue study circles, which we started the second round, or the second evolution, I have to say, started this fall. We had started these circles about 10 or 12 years ago with Ralph Dallas and Kevin Charbaugh and myself when we went up to Jacksonville and visited a study circle, and actually attended a study circle. And we thought they were so wonderful, we brought them back to Palatka. And we held them for a couple of years and then kind of petered out. When Mayor Hill had his town hall meeting in August, he mentioned the study circles, and about halfway through the meeting, my friend Carol Milton stood up and said, "What about those study circles?" And I turned around and said, "Who is that woman? We must meet her." So together with Carol and Ralph Dallas and Kevin Charbaugh, we started up the circles again in the autumn, and we had 27 participants. And then we had a facilitator training, and some of these people up here are now facilitators, and we had the circles again this spring. Now, a study circle is we get a group of people together of mixed races, and we create a safe environment so that we can talk talk to each other in a respectful, kind, loving way, but share our experiences, share our hearts, share our opinions, and feel that we can do that without getting trampled on. And I am so grateful to these people who are representatives of people who have gone through the circle, how I've gotten to know them and how I've grown, and I assume everybody else has grown some through attending the circles. And I would encourage anybody who's interested to attend them. I think Chip Weibel attended one in the first long time ago, and Rufus Forum also did, and I can't remember who else might have. Terrell came to my circle this past spring, and it was wonderful. So if you're interested, I have some flyers, and I actually would like to ask Carol if she has anything she'd like to add.
Not really, but thank you, Gabe, for giving an overview and a brief introduction. I just want to express that if you participate in a circle, you will never be the same again. The amount of exchange between people that are uniquely different allows you to grow as an individual, allows you to understand your community better, and also it motivates you. At least most of us are more motivated than we've ever been to be a part of the change that we want to see in the world. And having said that, that's my 2 cents. I'm going to go back over here. Thank you.
I'd also like to tell you that I would like to recognize Mayor Hill as being the underpinning for this current revival of the study circles. So I'm very, very grateful to his support in both allowing us a space to meet and his enthusiasm to propagate this movement. I'm going to call it a movement. Thank you, Mayor.
Before you guys go, I just want to add, race issue study circles, for those who aren't familiar, about a year ago, we had a town hall meeting, and I called it Addressing Historical Harms in Order to Preserve the Future. And one of the things that we really did is we sat down and we talked about things that gave people angst and hurt feelings as related to race relations in this community, from the Civil War to today's present. And what we're able to do is get a group of people who, and many came in really unhappy because they thought it was about removing the Confederate soldiers, but it was more about building love in our community, because the only way that this community prospers is by loving your neighbor and being able to actually understand that you do have differences, but those differences may necessarily, those visual differences may not necessarily have anything to do with the fact that you missed out on a good friend. And so what we found from the circles is that sometimes people who come from different communities or from different races oftentimes don't venture outside of their comfort zone to meet other people. And when you do, you realize, hey, they're a lot like me, and I really kind of missed my best friend along the way. And so having over 200 people come to the initial town hall, having an additional 100 people come to the second meeting, and then from there we started having the circles. And as the circles came through, there was 5 circles initially, and we had 4 great volunteers come in as facilitators. And from that, there were additional 5 circles that came as a result. Now those circles have spanned all the way out into Interlochen. We're looking at circles in Crescent City. Putnam County as a whole has started embracing the idea of having the uncomfortable conversations in order to move our community forward. And I just want to commend Gay and Carol Milton, Ralph Dallas Jr., and also Kevin Schauborough for stepping out with me in the midst of doing this, and also these folks that are here today, because this is a cross segment of what Putnam County really looks like. We're mixed together, but we love each other just the same, even when sometimes we don't understand. But having empathy gives us an opportunity to actually do something different. And today I want to make sure I recognize the 4 pioneers who stepped out, because they didn't have to. And I've got an award that says Distinguished Community Service Award. This certificate of appreciation is awarded by the City of Palatka City Commission to Gay Esperson, facilitator, race issue study circles, and grateful recognition for your support and contribution to unity in the community by your leadership in this public-private partnership to improve the cultural and social contacts between people of all races in Palatka and Putnam County, awarded this 10th day of May 2018. And for Gay, this is for you, just a token of our love. comes from Jacksonville over here just to show her love. Kevin Sharbar couldn't be with us today, but he's in a play, and so we want to make sure that we get Gay out of here before 7 o'clock so she can make it to the play. And also, Ralph Dallas Jr. has one as well, and we'll get this over to Mr. Dallas. And again, I'll get it to you, Gay. And again, if anybody's interested in being a part of race issue study circles, we've got morning groups, we've got afternoon groups, and we've got groups throughout the county. It's a perfect opportunity for you to get together, to share with people from all different walks of life. Millennials are participating. We've got millennials, we've got baby boomers, and we've got Gen Xers all together having great conversations. It also goes along with some of the stuff that Vice Mayor Brown is doing. She's had law enforcement officers come to her house with citizens and have conversations about some of the difficult issues that are in our community. If we don't talk about it, we won't know what other people's perspective is. And once we talk from it, we can grow from it. And so Ms. Brown always says, together we're better, and we're going to continue to be together, and we're going to continue to be better. And I thank you guys all for stepping out, for taking time out of your busy day just to find a way to love another neighbor. And so that's what this is all about. So again, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Next up, can I have Miss Kathleen Fisk come forward, the Coast Guard Auxiliary. And as she comes up, I want to make sure that we recognize, we're getting ready for our Memorial Day services coming up in the next couple of weeks. We want to make sure we recognize all our men and women of the armed forces who serve our country, and we want to tell you thank you for your service. We want to make sure that we recognize you at this time. Do we have any other past or present armed services veterans in the room today? Or anyone else who served in the armed forces in here today? We got some out in the hall, I'm sure. I see a couple in here. Let's go ahead and recognize them and give them a round of applause. Got a proclamation for National Safe Boating Week. Proclamation reads as follows. Whereas for nearly 90 million Americans, boating continues to be a popular recreational activity from coast to coast. And everywhere in between, people are taking to the water and enjoying time together, boating, sailing, paddling, fishing during National Safe Boating Week. The U.S. Coast Guard and its federal, state, and local safe boating partners encourage all boaters to explore and enjoy it, America's beautiful water responsibility. And whereas Florida offers unique water-related recreational activity to its residents and visitors from around the world, and boating is one of the state's leading outdoors activities. With more than 1 million residents participating in this pastime, Florida is known as the boating capital of the world. And whereas on an average 650 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., and around 80% of those are drowning fatalities, most of which are due to accidents caused by human error or poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. A significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. And whereas the National Safe Boating Council sponsors the North American Safe Boating Campaign, a year-long campaign across the U.S. and Canada, which is focused on spreading the message of boating safety and responsibility and the critical importance of always wearing a life jacket on water. Through basic boating safety procedures, we can help ensure boaters stay safe throughout the season. And whereas the Palatka City Commission supports the goals of the North American Safe Boating Campaign and wishes to promote safe boating in Putnam County, proudly known as the bass capital of the world, due to its bountiful recreational fishing opportunities, where boating is a part of our culture. Now, therefore, I, Terrell L. Hill, Mayor of the City of Palatka, Florida, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby endorse and proclaim May 19th through 25th, 2018, as National Safe Boating Week in the City of Palatka, and we encourage all citizens to participate in U.S. Coast Guard planned activities on May 19th through 26th, where life jackets when boating and learn about the practice of all safe boating habits. And with this whereof I'm here to set my hand and cause to be affixed the seal of the City of Palatka, Florida, on this 10th day of May, the year of our Lord 2018. Terrell Hill Mayor, Mary Lawson Brown, Rufus Board, Justin Campbell, and Tammy McCaskill, Commissioners. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by Vice Mayor Brown. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Kathy Fisk. I am with the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. I serve the Putnam County area, and we work all the way up through Greencove, all the way to Jacksonville. This is my commander, 14-8, Paul Tenda, and he came all the way from Jacksonville just to support what we do. The biggest thing that we're trying to get out with National Safe Boating Week is the week prior to, and we want to have a big kickoff and a bang at the end. Down here at the riverfront with everybody, we'll have a booth, which is public affairs, supposed to be information about it. Children can try on life jackets. We will also have vessel examiners on hand, and what they will do is go to your boats. They will check your boat out, see if you're missing something, see if there's nice to know, needs to know. All this is a free service. And a lot of things that people just really aren't understanding now is boat safety starts when you get up in the morning. You're going to go out, you get up, you're great, I'm going out today. So then your check-off list is at your house, not when you get to the water. Just simple things like not having whistles. Make sure your life jackets always say Coast Guard approved inside. There's all the little things that you can do. I'm going to leave some cards on the back, which will have my name and my contact information. We also meet with you at your houses, anywhere you need to know. We have the information. Like I said, once again, we hope that you come down to the riverfront. Even if you're just curious, we have children's education books, all the things that they need to know from little ones all the way up. And we also have safe boating classes that are in Jacksonville and in Greencove. So I hope to see y'all there and appreciate the city, your mayor, there you go, I was wondering where you at, for having us once again. Thank you very much.
Next up, Mr. Raymond Presley for Ravine State Gardens. Mr. Presley, are you here? Moving forward, we'll move forward with the proclamation as follows. Proclamation reads, whereas May 19, 2018 is the 8th annual Kids to Parks Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust. And whereas National Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it is important to introduce a new generation to our national parks. And whereas we should encourage children to lead more active lifestyles to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and hypercholesterolemia. And whereas the National Kids to Parks Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants. And whereas National Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. Whereas Palatka and Putnam County are home to some of the most beautiful parks and recreational areas in the state of Florida, including the Ravine State Gardens, and boasts the state's first designated Blue Waves paddling trail and barging trail, and is the trail hub of Northeast Florida, where 3 trails converge. Now, therefore, I, Terrell Hill, Mayor of the City of Palatka, Florida, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby endorse and proclaim May 19, 2018 as National Kids to Parks Day in the City of Palatka, and we urge all citizens to make time on Saturday, May 19th, to take their children in their lives to the neighborhood, state, or national park, trail, or Blue Wave, and witness whereof I appear to set my hand at cause to be affixed the seal of the City of Palatka, Florida, on this 10th day of May in the year of our Lord, 2018. Terrell Hill Mayor, Mary Lawson Brown, Rufus Forum, Justin Campbell, and Tammy McCaskill, Commissioners. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Motion passes. Let's give a round of applause for National Parks. Next up, VFW Post 3349, Police Officer of the Year. Commander Donnelly, are you here? Sure you got a few good men coming in behind you as well. Can I have my representatives from Palatka Police Department come up as well? Captain. And also any representatives from the Tippett family want to come up.
I don't know if we can fit them all up here.
I don't know.
There's a few of them.
Good evening. My name is Bill Thurman, Commander of Post 3349, Veterans of Florida. I'm here to present Tom Tipton's Policeman of the Year Award. Tom has shown outstanding leadership in our community over the years. He helped to save a man down by the river one night by performing CPR. He helped the community over the years. Through Tom's dedication, I am now going to give Tom a plaque and a certificate which reads as follows. Law Enforcement of the Year 2017 presented to Tom Tipton in special recognition of your hard work and dedication to the citizens of Putnam County, the veterans of foreign war. Award which reads, in grateful recognition of the unyielding adherence to the highest ideals of law enforcement and maintaining, preserving, and protecting the lawful rights of all citizens, presented to Tom by the Veterans of Foreign War, Post 3349. One thing I'd like to say, I'd like to thank all the EMTs, policemen, and firemen of Putnam County and the city of Palatka for their hard work and dedication. The VFW has outstanding service with the state of Florida because we had the last 2 years the EMT and the Veteran of the Year awards. Tom was in the running this year for that award, but he didn't win. Again, I'd like to thank Tom for
You want me to do a Ric Flair?
You got anything to say? Single Gators.
Tom, you do your acceptance.
No, something.
There you go. There is reason that I do this. I want to thank my lovely wife, Tammy, Emily, Tanner, Taylor, Trenton, and I'm missing a couple of T's, but I'm big on the T's. I want to thank Chief Shaw and Captain Newton, too, for putting up with me for, I guess, a little over 15 years now. So, you know, they got a lot of pay. So thank y'all very much.
All right.
Yeah, we will. Next up, we've got our historic impressionists of Florida to come in and talk about funds raised for the Bronson Mulholland House.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce us. We are Historic Impressionists of Florida. We are a non-for-profit group who believe in education through impressionism. Therefore, we believe that maintaining and keeping our historic places and sites is an important part of our mission. In January, we hosted the 12th night Grand Gala at the Bronson Mulholland House. I believe Mayor Hill was an attendee. And I'm happy to announce and would like to present this in our name to the City of Palatka, $500 for the maintenance and care of the Bronson House.
And again, we thank you guys for the work that you do in this community, coming back to Palatka, and definitely we thank you for all that you've done at the Bronson Mulholland House as well as docent. But this is just a great opportunity for us to have people come in to really start to embrace the history that we have at the Bronson Mulholland House. Had a great time at that event. Also won some wonderful University of Florida rings, Officer Tifton. But it's just a great time. The Bronson Mulholland House is a treasure that we have here in this community, along with other historic features as well. And we just thank you guys for all that you do, and we definitely thank you for giving back to the community.
Can I say one
Yes,
more?
ma'am.
Also, just to let everyone know, we are planning our second annual 12th Night Grand Gala on January the 5th, 2019, at the same venue, for the same purpose.
Next up is Eddie City Kiwanis Terrific Kids program. I wanted to bring in Mr. Charles Overturf III to talk a little bit about Terrific Kids and what it means to this community. Do we have any other members of Kiwanis that are here as well joining? They're coming up. Mr. Liable, if you could come up with us as well. I'm sure there's some more Kiwanians in the audience, but we're going to let Mr. Overturf talk a little bit about Terrific Kids.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of Chip Lible, he's also one of our newest members, and about 60 other members. I want to tell you, we're a part of one of the most active clubs, and I don't care which organization it is in all of Florida. And these guys will tell you because of all the events that we do throughout the year. The one that's closest to my heart is Terrific Kids. I'm sorry, too. I didn't want to see your hand. Is Terrific Kids. And of course, if this is Student of the Month night, I have a feeling there's several of them that know exactly what I'm talking about because they were award winners at some point during their careers. This is a program that was developed by Kiwanis International 25 years ago. And in 1994, at the beginning of the school year, Mr. Danny Hood, who's with the school system, he and I were in a different Kiwanis club. We had 3 at the time, and it was the Breakfast Club. And he said, Charles, I'm the chairman of this committee. I found some project that I think we ought to undertake. And so he got it going because he had the connections with the school system. And we started at Mosley Elementary School. And that summer, his job changed a little bit. He said, Charles, I'm giving up chairman. I'm going to let you be it. And so I said, well, you know what? If I'm going to do this, my oldest son's starting kindergarten that fall at Kelly Smith. And I said, we're going to expand it. And so we expanded it to Kelly Smith. And then by that time, Mosley had grown so big that, remember, they developed it was River Breeze and Mosley. And then we started going to other elementaries. And over the last 24 years, we have now serve every single elementary school in Putnam County. We do 7. We do the E.H. Miller School, and we also do the Children's Reading Center. And then the Kiwanis Club from Keystone does Aquila and Melrose because they're so much closer. And so every student in elementary school has this opportunity. And one of the things that it does is it stresses, I always call it a 2-pronged program. It stresses trying to do the best we can on our grades and learning our academics because we know how important that is, especially as I see high school principals here when they're dealing with grades and the school grades, and also we know it's important. And what it also encourages them to work hard on their attitude, their behavior, their character, things that we know are important to grow up to be fellow councilmen here on our council in Palatka or county commissioners here in our community. So it was something that was developed that we think we've taken this on and have done that over the years. Not only have we expanded that, but we've also in the last few years, back when Mr. Buckles was principal, the school system came to us and said, do you think we should put this on the TV? And I said, I hadn't even thought about it because we do have a lot of grandparents and others that couldn't get out, and they want to see these young people. They want to congratulate them and see what honors they're receiving. And so they expanded it there. And then we all give, in our little packets that we give to them, there's about 6 or 7 or 8 different things. And most of them are food. And you talk about the awes and the oohs, when we start naming the Burger King and Golden Corral and Beefs and Muscle Whites and Zaxby's and Pax Karate and all. When we start naming that, they start thinking, man, we're going to get to eat good. So it gives them some more emphasis, to try to do the best they can and to get those awards. We also do bumper stickers for parents. And I'm promising you, if you drive through the community, you see them. Most of the politicians would love to have that much support on people's bumper stickers on their cars. years ago and had so many requests for grandparents. And so we've added that, and now I'm getting requests for great-grandparents. And I can't promise we'll ever go that far, but we've tried to do what the community wants and what the citizens have wanted. This past year, Lord willing, next week we'll finish our last 5. And for the last several years, we've averaged between 35 and 40 ceremonies throughout the county. And we honor usually around 1,200 to 1,350 students every year. So when you multiply that over 24 years, that's right at 18,000 students that we have recognized, and roughly a little bit over 500 ceremonies that we have done to say thank you to these young people for what they're doing. And the last thing I'll mention is this: we never know, you all as council, as the mayor, we never know what impact you're going to have on a child. And I can tell you over the years, I've had several parents come to me and they'd say, Charles, thank you for what you did for my child several years ago. They graduated, and they weren't the ones that's going to get all the scholarships, and they weren't the valedictorians. But you know what they did? They had good grades, they stayed out of trouble, and they still remember that honor that you gave them. That's what it's all about, and that's why you all are doing what you're doing tonight, is to say thank you to these young people for what they've done, and we just encourage them to keep up the good work and to take our places in a few years.
Let's get around to it. Again, just another great program done for Kiwanis in this community. Mr. Overturf, how many years have you been doing it? 24 years? How many times have you missed the program? In 24 years? None in 24 years, which is a testament to his commitment. And one of the reasons that we also have a special recognition for today. One of the things that we like to do is recognize our citizens who go over and beyond the call of duty. And this time, our Palatka Pride Hometown Hero Award goes to Charles L. Overturf III, in grateful recognition of your devotion to the advancement and success of the city of Palatka and Putnam County through community advocacy, Palatka City Commission and staff, May 10, 2018. 24 years, no absence. Mr. Overturf is probably one of those people who doesn't like to say a whole lot about himself, but there's not too many times that you find people who work 24 years in a program that's had the impact that Terrific Kids has had throughout this community and the dedication that goes along with it, and also Kiwanis as a whole. It's not just an Overturf project, but we want to thank him, and we're going to continue to recognize citizens throughout this community who go over and beyond the call of duty and making sure that Palatka is great. And so our Palatka Pride Hometown Hero Award will be coming to more great Palatkans soon. So again, thank you very much.
Next week, so if you jinx me, it's your fault.
Show them award.
All right. Good. Nice.
Mr. Poston, if you could join me this time. Chief Shaw. This is our police department recognitions. And so I'll turn the program over to Chief Shaw at this time.
It's not always we get the opportunity to recognize people for longevity, for sticking in, sticking out, and giving their all, not only to a department, but our city. So this time we'd like to take the opportunity, with the thanks of the city of Palatka, for us to recognize some of our long outstanding citizens and employees for our police department. First person we want to recognize is Lieutenant Scott Reinhold. Lieutenant Scott Reinhold has been with the police department for 24 years. Lieutenant Reinhold has held many different positions in the police department and trained many different people at the police department, including myself. He has carried on things at the police department and carried over things that you wouldn't believe. But to be able to stay at a small department, survive through, and give your all on a day in and day out is a tremendous feat. And we want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
Our next employee is Captain Matt Newcomb. Captain Matt Newcomb, who we affectionately refer to as Duke Nukem, has been with the city of Palatka for 23 years. Again, Captain Newcomb has worked in many different areas, alongside me in several different areas, was the drug unit, the persons and property crimes, admin. He's been a K-9 handler. He is now in admin as a captain position of support services. Captain Newcomb, along with Lieutenant Ron Holt, have both, again, weathered many storms at the police department, but for the love of not only the city, but their fellow employees, have stuck it out, put it in, and give it everything they have on a day-to-day basis to the city of Palatka. Thank you, Captain Matt Newcomb. Our next employee is Detective Mike Lassiter. Detective Lassiter, who now only deals with evidence, has been with the Palatka Police Department for 22 years. Detective Lassiter, what we call at our department our human resource, he helps us go through all of our applications. He helps us filter through everything we have going in and contacting people in our recruitment. Most of the people who come from the academy know Detective Lassiter before they know Palatka Police Department, and that's how they get introduced to the Palatka Police Department. He's our #1 recruiter. He not only goes out to the academy, he goes out in the field. And I got to attend with Detective Lassiter last week, one of the graduations. It was actually the academy that I went to, so I thought I would get recognized more than he did. But everybody kept walking up saying, "Hey, Detective Lassiter." But nobody really said anything to me. Detective Lassiter is over our evidence department. He does all of that on his own, and no matter what I tell him, he's there Monday through Saturday on a regular basis. We have to force him to take overtime. I'm taking vacation, and he very rarely accepts overtime. He's on every call out. Again, he is our only evidence detective, so he's there for every call out, unless we send him off on vacation and we call out FDLE. But he's there without a problem. He shows up on time every day, every time we call him out, which we don't like to do much of. That means something bad happened. Our next employee is Deborah Armento. Deborah is our record supervisor. She's been with us for 5 years. With Deborah, she's the mother of our, what we like to call the mother of our department. She likes to make sure she takes care of all the officer needs. So with every time they need something or would like something, if they ask or not, she makes sure she goes above and beyond, out of her way to make sure everything is taken care of at the department. Deborah's been with us 5 years, but we feel like she's been with us longer than that. We hope to see her for many more.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Our other two employees who couldn't be here tonight is Lieutenant Brian Hawkins, who's been with the police department for 21 years, and Officer Maria Harmon. She's been with the police department for 5 years. It's our opportunity to say thank you to these individuals and to show them how much we appreciate all that they've done for us here at the city of Palatka.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you for everybody in the audience. It's not every day that you can thank those that you've worked with for so many years, and to see someone who has trained the Chief is something great to be spoken of. He's definitely turned into a great Chief. Thanks to you and your tutelage.
Thank you. It wasn't easy.
Love it. So thank you so much for serving. Thank you so much for your service that you've already given, and for some of you what you still have yet to do for us here at the city of Palatka. We appreciate you. We cannot probably give you the money you deserve or tell you thank you enough, but we want you to know that we love you, we appreciate you, and we're happy that you're here to serve the citizens here in the city of Palatka. Thank you so much for your service.
mentioned by Chief Shaw, something very informative for all our parents out here in the audience today. And it's going to talk about our Police Athletic League. We're asking members of the Police Athletic League who are present to come forward at this time. We've got a presentation by Pal.
It's not often that we get the opportunity to brag, but I'm very proud of our local Police Athletic Leagues. They've done so much. So I'm not going to talk more. I'll talk it towards the end, but I'll let Alita Thomas do you guys.
Are they part of the police athletic? Come on. Jennifer.
I'm going to stand here. I do have a quick presentation. If you want to look here to my left, I want to ask all of my mentoring group as well as program coordinators to come up and join me as I talk through the presentation. So again, thank you to Mayor Hill and to all of our city commissioners for allowing us to come out and share what it is that the Palatka Police Athletic League offers to our youth in the city of Palatka. The Palatka Police Athletic League has many different programs. Two of the programs that I'm going to talk about today is our mentoring program. Our mentoring program here, we meet with our youth twice a month for 2 hours each. We also involve them in our community service activities. Currently, we are servicing over 79 youth in this program. This mentoring program was a grant awarded to us by our National Police Athletic League by the U.S. Department of Justice. The mentor program serves youth ages 8 to 17. And again, I did mention that we do meet 4 hours a month. The theme for this year is badges for PAL. And when we talk about badges, we're talking about badges of communication, sportsmanship. We're talking about badges for communication. This here is 2 pictures showing where we are doing our teamwork, and we have our own city commissioner who is assisting us in facilitating that activity, along with we utilize the parks that has been well renovated for us to go out and do activities. We first did sportsmanship where we did kickball with the youth, and we also taught them some communication at one of our other parks, and they had to do some activities together there. So that's what the other picture represents. It was actually a video, you can't hear, but it's actually a video showing them doing the activities. Another thing that we do as part of our mentoring program, we take our youth out on college tours. Here we were able to take them to Bethune-Cookman College and then to tour that college, as well as, Bethune-Cookman University. Let me make correct that, University. After we did the tour, we were able to take the youth also to a college football game. A lot of our youth would never get that opportunity to go to a college football game. So through this mentoring grant, we were able to provide that to our youth here in the city of Palatka. Another opportunity that we give our kids through the mentoring program is cultural experience. Here we were able to take them to Painting with the Twist, and most of you may have heard about Painting with the Twist. So the kids got to do Painting with the Twist here, and they did it with smiling faces, so we also offer that as well. We have youth directors council, and this is through the State of Florida Police Athletic League, and this program teaches our teens leadership training. The ages for this program is 11 to 18. This program also qualifies them to attend a conference at Walt Disney World each year. So that's a lot about our mentoring program. We also offer summer camp. The theme for this year for our 7-week summer camp program is Camp Rocks. Through this program, we are able to offer summer jobs to a lot of our teens. Through this program, we call them junior counselors. These counselors are in charge of actually leading our kids in each one of their daily activities. They're over a group of our youth, and they actually help put the program together and facilitate it. So youth counselors are part of this summer camp program. All right, thank you again to the city. I want to make it quick and short. And to all of these youth who is actually part of our summer camp, part of our mentoring program, and some of them are our junior counselors for our summer camp. So again, I just want to say thank you all for coming, and thank you all for listening. If you are interested in participating in our mentoring program, or you're looking for somewhere for your kids to go for the summer for the 7-week program, you can visit pal.leagueapps.com, or you may get an application from the city police department. If you have any questions, feel free to contact Captain Toby Williams or myself, Lolita Thomas.
Well, also, if you can send that information to Beth, so we'll make sure that it's on the city website as well.
Well, that was my opportunity to brag a little bit about what we have going on for the youth and citizens in the community. So one thing that she didn't point out, and I think is very important, all those adults that you see come up here, and all the adults in our program are all full-time volunteers. They give out their time. She said 4 hours of a month, but believe it or not, they are there way more than 4 hours of a month. It goes far past that. So that's what I love about it the most. We get the opportunity to give things and present things to these kids that they wouldn't see any other time. And that's just a small part of our program with the mentoring grant, but it's a large part with the activities and the things that how we reach out to the citizens of this community, and it touches them in many different ways. Thank you.
And now for the moment that you guys have been patiently waiting for. Before we do that, I want to make sure we recognize our educators who are in the back of the room. They're typically hanging around the hallway out in the back, but we want to make sure we thank you guys for the work that you've done. We're at the end of the school year, and there's all too many times that you guys don't get enough thank you, and we want to make sure that we take this time out just to recognize our educators that are both in the commission room as well as in the halls, and tell them thank you for the job that you do with our kids. Our next group of special guests are the parents and the family members that have joined these young people today. And if you guys could just stand for me or wave your hand at this time, we want to recognize all our family members and neighbors and extended family who've come here and joined our young people. Because truly, without you guys being involved in these young folks' lives, these kids would not be here today. It takes a village to raise a child, and we definitely thank you for all the work that you've done in helping our young people accomplish the things that they have before them. Thank you guys very much. This month, I have the honor of having Commissioner McCaskill with me, who's an educator. And so what we're going to do at this time is we're going to bring up our Student of the Month. As the students come forward, we'll ask the representative from the school to come forward with them as well. We will gather in the front of the commission room. After we've called all the names out, we will then take a break so that photos can be taken for both the newspaper and also for family members. We will adjourn briefly. We'll take a brief recess so that we can make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to get as many photos as they need to commemorate this great moment. And so without further ado, we're going to move forward into our presentations. First up, from Brown and Pierce Elementary, Kamaya Miles. We also want to thank our community partner. We have a new business here, Twisted Frozen Yogurt, who also has a gift certificate for each student who's named Student of the Month. From CL Overturf 6th Grade Center, Gabrielle Chapman. From the Children's Reading Center Charter School, Lexington, Hansford. From James A. Long Elementary School, Jabin Palmer. From Jenkins Middle School, Summer Bishop. Kelly Smith Elementary, Caitlin Slaughter. From Mellon Elementary School, Samantha Haven. From Mosley Elementary, Brianna Daniels. From our Palatka High School, Megan Lindell. Again, from Palatka High, Megan Lindell. She's not here, she's in the play. From Pinal Baptist Academy, Kelly Jacobs. From Putnam Academy of Arts and Sciences, Hayden Duncan. And last but not least, from Putnam Edge High School, Dalton Pender. So guys, again, we thank you for the great job you've done. We recognize you and we applaud you for the work that you put forth at this time and the fact that you take education very seriously. I always like to leave our students with one thing that I learned in the 3rd grade, and that's 37 years ago. And it simply says, Ms. Green taught us in 3rd grade, it says, I am somebody. If my mind can't conceive it and my heart can't believe it, I know I can achieve it because I am somebody. Each and every one of you standing here today, you're somebody special. You're somebody that we're very proud of. And we look for great things out of you, and we look for you guys to lead this community. And so again, thank you, and we applaud you for your efforts. And we look forward to seeing you again next year with another award. Thank you. At this time, we'll take a brief recess so that we can take pictures. Students, if you can stay up front, we're going to take pictures up front for the newspaper. So we'll have everybody gather in. No action, we're taking up topics of discussion. First public comment card we got is Tom Townsend.
You got a minute and a half.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Everybody doing good?
Hey. That's right.
All right. Well, I've had the, first let me say thank you to all of you and to Jonathan and the city manager in here, but everybody that very attentive to my issue. I just thought it was time to come and address everybody. It's North 3rd Street. As everybody's aware, certainly a hurricane has inconvenienced all of us and created a problem that we all want to fix. But as we're moving forward and getting the sewer line, the water line, all that put in, it's come to my attention that the plan was to, as we repair that, is to just fix the curb on one side of the street and relay the brick in half the road, which is what would be necessary, which is what will be disturbed to fix the sewer line. What I'm asking you to consider, and I want to offer my encouragement in any way that it'll be accepted, is this is probably the only time that we're going to have a chance to get our road fixed. The brick road, you know, it's a big part of who we are, but truthfully, it's been in bad shape for many years. And I know that we've had discussions, and there was no point in even fixing it when you had pipes underneath it that leaked and constantly eroded the soil that just had no purpose. But this is our time, and I know it's not in the budget, but I certainly, as someone that lives at the end of 3rd Street and gets to hit every pothole on the way down, it's a priority, and that's what I'm asking. I expect that I will continue to do whatever I can to work with youth and neighborhood associations, whatever. But I think I think that's what we do, you know, safety and infrastructure. And I think I don't think there will be a better opportunity. And I don't, please fix the darn road. So that's That's really the only comment I have. I know Jonathan has offered to, or is working there's a contractor taking measurements and getting prices. Regardless, I'm very likely to be back here again, hopefully with some neighbors. So you know how neighbors get. They all get together and say only great things about our leadership. And we want to continue to do that. So anyway, please consider that for something I can do to help facilitate the conversations that are needed. Please let me know.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Griffin, do we have any numbers on what it takes to continue to do the requested repairs?
We do have unit cost quantities, and we've asked the contractor to verify the cost. He's working on it right now. The neighborhood association is actually going to meet on the 25th, and if the prices work out, they may be making a recommendation to the CRA to use the amount of money that they set aside as an annual debt service payment, which wasn't needed for the water line project, the grant revenue that we received. Right. But we won't know that until the 25th.
And then we also have some money in for some repaving already that we budgeted, right? Small amount.
It's committed already. You guys have already awarded that bid. But we'll be back before you with those numbers.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here for public comment? Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Moving on to item 3 of the agenda, which is our consent agenda. We've got 3 items. Well, we got items A through G on the consent agenda. Are there any items that you wish to have removed?
Motion to approve items A through G. Second.
Also, before we do that, I want to talk a little bit more about item E. Just get, that's the gravity line for the $706,000.
Okay.
Motion to approve items A through G, excluding E. Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second by Commissioner Boren. Is there any further discussion? Questions called. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 3E. And so, Mr. Griffin, just so that we've all kind of got an understanding of what goes on in item 3E, can you just kind of give us a synopsis? I know we just talked a little bit about about the project, but just kind of talk to us about some of the challenges that you have with that project as well.
Yes, sir. We have an existing gravity sewer line running west to east along the old Dunn Street and rail bed that terminated at the river's edge and then ran south to the lift station at First and Madison Street. During the storm, winds as well as higher water levels in the river caused the trees at the edge of the river to blow over and uproot that gravity storm system, causing us to pull in upwards of 1 million gallons of water a day into the gravity sewer system. We've been bypassing that since the storm. This project actually proposes to mitigate this by rerouting the gravity sanitary sewer, down North 3rd to Madison and 3rd Street, and then east along Madison to First and Madison to the lift station. So this cannot happen again. And in addition, we won't be having to construct a lift station, which is the original recommendation from the engineers, and it should be refunded 75% from FEMA.
It's 700,000 plus 75%.
$706,000 for the construction, and then you have the engineering and permitting costs on top of that, sir.
Do we know what the engineering costs?
Right now, we have a project estimate of approximately $800,000. We were just made aware that the manhole that we have been bypassing from has sustained some damage because manholes are not made to actually have the water level go up and down. So it is a possibility that we will have at least have to line that manhole. We may have to replace it to the tune of $6,000 to $7,000. But this is something that needs to happen. Would have had to happen at some point. Unfortunately, the storm is making us do it now.
Can you tell us where those funds come from?
The $706 grand?
Correct.
Ms. Becker has put out an RFP for financial services. I believe that's on the same agenda, correct? We will have to solicit financing. The utility fund does not have enough funds in reserve for you to expend these dollars and be able to cash flow the utility. We'll also be back in front of you at the end of the month with a proposed rate structure recommended by Florida Rural Water Association, which will put the utility
do you mind talking about the pledge revenues for this project?
Okay, so the pledge revenues for this project.
In general.
In general, we do have a commitment from FEMA for 75% of the funds, but as I alluded to, we'll be back before you at the end of the month, probably with a financing package where we'll be pledging the revenues and associated with the rate increase.
Jonathan, can you speak to the length of time it normally requires us to get reimbursement back from FEMA on something like this?
Best case scenario, about a year and a half.
So we'll be fronting the money for best case scenario, a year and a half?
Yes, sir.
And that's a guaranteed 75% you said from FEMA,
Yes, ma'am.
at least.
And one of the reasons I wanted to pull this item is so that we would all know that those funds are coming from, it's going to pull down on reserves and utility funds significantly. And those funds aren't going to come back readily right away. So we would be anticipating those funds coming back anywhere from a year and a half to maybe upward to 2 years. We just got funds back from 2 years ago. And so just wanted you guys to know exactly where that money's coming from, but also to understand that the people on 3rd Street, the residents on 3rd Street have been living in really nightmarish conditions. I think that Mr. Griffith and his staff have done a great job of accommodating as much as they can, but it's not something that we can even we can waver on. It's necessary. We've got a lot of a lot of our really great historic homes in that area, and this has been something that's 130 years in the making. That's finally put us in a position where we truly can't waste another day in pushing this project off.
Mr. Mayor, was this also a repair that was required under the agreement that we made with FDEP?
Under the consent order for the River Street Lift Station, no, sir. We did have to commit to a project under that consent order, but we picked a project that was going to happen sooner so that we could, kind of push that forward quicker. I would ask you as a commission to remember this project when we're back before you at the end of the month. We really do hope that you will consider this sustainable rate structure that we're going to present to you and see the benefit of it so that when we're in situations like this, we can be a little bit more proactive.
Right.
Does it also fix the other half of the road there and the curb for that?
That's a very good question. So to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement, you can't put what they would consider betterments in the project. So that improvement is not within this current scope. So when we come back to you, if the neighborhood association that serves as the advisory committee to the CRA board wants to use those pledged revenues that weren't needed for the potable project, that money would have to go towards that. We can't, it has to be separated for purposes of streamlined reimbursement from FEMA.
And that's the purpose of the May 25th meeting?
No.
That's the purpose of the May 25th meeting?
Yes, staff will be meeting with the neighborhood association. That will not be a call to commission meeting.
But here's what we had. We had a situation where the storm was pretty much the reason why the structure is the way it is right now, right? So if you fix half of it, it's not put back. The character of the community looks way different than it did prior to. So I don't know if they can't do it from that respect, but look at what they're fixing something, but they're not completely fixing something that was damaged by storms.
Well, FEMA's not repairing the road. They're just putting the road back after digging a hole to repair the storm system. So that's how they're going to see it. But I'm optimistic. Let's get the number back from the contractor, and we'll bring it back to you for your consideration.
The only thing I want to tell you is make sure you keep all your information, receipts, whatever you have to do when you get on with FEMA. Because we have some cities in South Florida that are paying millions of dollars back from hurricanes, and we don't have that kind of money to pay back. So.
Yes, ma'am. Is there any other discussion on this item?
Yes, just keep in mind, the reason why I had Jonathan go into the pledged revenues is because we're going to have to adjust the rates to be able to fund this project. So he said that, I just want to make sure that you caught it, that we're going to have to adjust the rates to be able to fund this project.
What kind of estimate we looking at?
We're going to bring that back to you. We don't have that for tonight, but I want you to at least have it on your mind. It's going to have to be a conversation we're going to have.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to approve. Second. Second.
It's a motion and a second by Commissioner Board. Any further discussion?
Any questions?
Questions called. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Spearman. Moving on, item 4, Palatka Housing Authority Board. We've got 2 applicants for a four-year term to expire on April 2022. The incumbent is Brenda Bibbins. Ms. Bibbins couldn't be here with us this evening. She's had some challenges with mobility, but we also have James Neschwitz, who's an attorney here in town, and he's present. I wanted to bring Mr. Neschwitz forward and have Mr. Neschwitz give us a little bit of an introduction and tell us about himself and his background.
Commission. I'm Jim Neschwitz. I think most of you know me. I was very honored to be asked to apply for the position to be on the Housing Authority. I'm sure all of you got to meet the remarkable man Quentin Studer last week. One of our partners invited him to come speak, and one of my other partners went to go pick him up from Pensacola. And I'm very excited to be part of the Palatka community, more importantly, to be in a position to help realize that theme of Mr. Studer's conversation and history that he shared. And that's just about growth and community. And so I'm a local attorney here in town. Most of you don't know this. I'm an economist. That's how I started, more specifically public economics and specifically subsidies and the study of subsidies and how it affects public economics. And so housing actually is at the cornerstone of having a safe community, a vibrant community, an economically viable community. And so my opinion is that moving forward and marrying housing with Mr. Studer's vision, what he was able to achieve in Pensacola, applying that here in Palatka, is that we should be concentrating on what we can do to both enhance and sharpen the Housing Authority's mission to bring about that sense of community. Because when you study subsidies, actually, it's really, well, it's not really exciting for you, but it's fun. When you study subsidies, you can actually see the impact on government, on how it improves the lives of community members and the local economy. And I think Palatka, more so than any other city in the state, necessitates that type of commitment from their respective housing authority. So I am an attorney, economist, wealth manager. I live in East Palatka. I own property here in town. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to address them or answer them. But I think that the mission of the Housing Authority, creating a self-sustaining community that with quality housing and dignity for its customers, is very important. And self-sufficiency, I think, is just as important. What I do for a living is I coordinate how people's lifestyle can be maintained by their net worth, and how their current net worth can be enhanced through proper investing, proper spending, proper allocation. And that's what I do. And whether it's with somebody with $10 million or $10, the principles are still the same. And I think that the Housing Authority should be especially aware of that mission to create self-sufficient customers. That the perfect Housing Authority does not have its customers for very long. And I don't necessarily know if that's been the case historically within the Housing Authority. However, it's been a very difficult 20 years, and Mr. Nelson has done an amazing job at carrying that torch, and hopefully the new CEO can continue to carry on that mission half as well as Mr. Nelson has. But I think that I can help concentrate on self-sufficiency and what I know and what I teach people, so the Housing Authority can complement that goal of the vision that we were able to hear last week. Because if it was able in Pensacola, and if anyone has been to much worse shape than Palatka ever will be. And, I hope that if I can contribute in any way, I definitely will, and I'll dedicate a substantial amount of time and anything that's required of me. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I just have one thing I'd like to tell you. I know you, the economist, and it's wonderful, but I'd like for you to get to know some of the people who live in the housing authority. You don't hear me?
I apologize.
No, I said I'd like for you to get to know some of the people who live in the housing authority. It's important for you to understand them too. And the housing authority was started back in the 60s, and it was for having people move in, help them get on their feet, and move on to a better life. So I like hearing that from you, but I want to make sure that you understand that the people who live in the housing authority, you need to get to know too, if you're going to make rules and regulations for the way that they live.
Absolutely. And, I'm on the board over at the Lee Conley House, and I'm a fiduciary for that institution, and that was one of the first things that I was able to do and enjoy within the Lee Conley House. And it's more than just sponsoring various events. It's about really understanding the problems among people that have not only been disenfranchised, but maybe temporarily unable to support themselves. And so getting to know people, really is how you get to the root of the issue. Because when you think of housing, it really, just like Lee Conley House, is housing and support temporarily, as is the housing authority. Without housing, you can't work, you can't support your family. People, their crime goes up when housing is not affordable and you still have low-income people. And so I completely agree with you, Commissioner. It's something that I look forward to.
I'd like to get to know you better.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Neschewitz. Brenda Bivens has had some sickness over the years. She hasn't been able to be here. I wanted to make sure we got an opportunity to meet Jim Neschewitz. The recommendation typically comes from the mayor as to what new memberships come through for the board. I would ask that the commission continue this particular item until we can get Ms. Bivens in here so that we can hear from both sides, or the applicants that are before, so that we can kind of make a decision. But also, Mr. Nelson is in the back. I want to acknowledge John Nelson, who's the executive director and CEO of the Housing Authority, who also announced his retirement effective in July, is it? In July. Mr. Nelson's been with the Housing Authority forever and a day. I sat on the hiring committee when he came in, but he's done a great job for this community. I want to make sure we recognize you, John, for the work that you've done. You'll definitely be missed in this community. I want to make sure we give both applicants an opportunity to come forward, to have an opportunity to speak to us. I know that your schedule is extremely busy, and it's definitely a good thing to have you here today to get an opportunity for people to meet you as well. On the 26th for our meeting, we'll try to have Brenda Bivens here so she can also come in as well. And at that time, we'll have a recommendation for you moving forward. If we can entertain a motion, I'll entertain a motion at this time. There's a motion to the table on the floor.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Again, we'll make sure we get that decision in place for you. Next up is our public hearing. We're going to public hearing at this time. Our public hearing, we've got item 5 on the agenda, which is public hearing ordinance 237.45 acres off Brown Landing Road, north and west of the city of Palatka wastewater treatment plant. Planning board recommendation to amend the future land use map and element from agriculture from other public facilities. City of Palatka is the applicant. This is our second reading to adopt.
An ordinance of the City of Palatka, Florida, providing that the future land use map of the adopted comprehensive plan of the City of Palatka be amended as to that certain property in section 24, township 10 south, range 26 east, greater than 10 acres in size, identified as property lying south and west of the city's wastewater treatment plant, from OPF, other public facilities, to AG, agriculture, providing for severability and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. We're now open the floor for public hearing. Is there anyone here for public hearing? Seeing no one, we'll close public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Questions called, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to our report, the fiscal impact of Hurricane Irma. Logan Becker.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, so in front of you, you have a report that shows a graph on the storm-related expenses. And it is here, and it should be in front of you also. And there it was attached in front of you. There's one in the back if you look.
He needs one.
So we brought this forward to you tonight in response to requests that have been made previously at commission meetings. It's important to understand that Hurricane Irma affected 2 fiscal years for us. It hit in September, therefore it hit last fiscal year, or we have expenses that were realized in the last fiscal year, and continuing on to October, which is realized in this fiscal year. Like Jonathan said previously, FEMA does reimburse these expenses. However, it is a 75%, and, well, we're guaranteed 75%. Could be more, however, it's safe to say 75. And it could be 2.5 years in reality until you realize these. If you'll notice the graph, you can see that the blue represents the budget and the orange represents the expenses. The first, or from the bottom to where it says other general, all of those lie in the general fund. The other 2 are 2 other funds, the sanitation and utility. Let's see. So last year, these, because they were not budgeted, these will affect reserves. However, we have only been using projected reserves based on the budget from last year because we're still waiting on auditors to get us their final numbers. It's important to know that many different end-of-the-year activities happen, journal entries, movements within the funds. You bring in more than what you projected, you spend more maybe. So there's a lot of things that happen. So when I say that we're using budget, it's important to know that even though you see these expenses that will hit reserves, that it may not be the full $600,000 that hit. It could be less. So, any questions?
Logan, I don't understand the graph.
So it's hard to put a graph together for something that you have zero budget for.
So that was my point then, because you're showing zero budget for everything.
I am. And that was the point of the blue. These are expenses that were not in the budget.
Okay, so I get it. So you're saying essentially while you had a utility budget, for instance, you had nothing budgeted for storm-related expenses.
Exactly. We are purely talking about unexpected storm and related expenses. And that's what it's about, yes, absolutely.
And how it's going to impact our reserves.
Just to let you know that there could be a potential impact to your reserves for any, related events that you are not budgeted for.
Unexpected events, more or less.
So you're saying $970,000 is the storm-related expense?
That's total for Irma that we have. You'll notice, like I said, from police down to other general, that's just in your general fund. That's about $600,000. That's $595. The other 2, utility and sanitation, those are 2 separate funds.
Do you know where our reserves sit right now as it relates to?
So, like I said, we are still using budgeted reserves because we have a lot of end of the year and audit related figures that have not been given back to us.
So we won't know actual numbers until the auditors get back with us, more or less?
Yes, I mean, we can project, however, there are effects that they may have if they have any recommended entries or, and it's not just, remember, it's not just the audit, they help create our CAFR also. So even though they're auditing, they're a firm that creates our final financial statements.
Also, Public Game Commissioners, keep in mind that Irma occurred in the prior fiscal year. And so when you had budget time during the prior fiscal year, during budget development, you was given a number for reserve. What she's saying is that number from the FY17 budget is still the working number at this time because FY17 hasn't been closed out yet by the auditors. And so when FY17 gets closed out by the auditors, that number for storm impact for Irma in FY17 may be lower, may be higher. And so keep in mind that Irma happened right at the end of 17, right at the beginning of 18. So that number, as of right now, has not changed. But once the auditors do their audit and update, we'll have what the true reserve number is at that particular time, at the beginning of this fiscal year, and then we'll subtract out those Irma costs and expense and bring that back to you so you'll see what is the impact currently on the reserve.
And the number we're talking about is 1.9 million.
Yes. 1.9. And speaking to Mr. Colson, just elaborating a little bit, you remember you start budget prep much earlier than September. Therefore, these numbers are set. Whenever you have a hurricane that comes in at the end of September, and some of the residual effects are not recognized at the end of that year when you close it, and then also may spill over to the fiscal year 18. So that's where we're saying that it's projected. It may not be exactly 600,000. You may see some other effects.
How much of these expenses have already been paid, and how much are expenses that are to be paid?
I have a breakdown of that. I did not bring it. The majority of them are paid, or they're all expensed or encumbered. Therefore, they have a PO. You have a quote. So this is real.
Which includes the 706 that we just approved, right? Is that
706 that was just approved?
Yeah, Third Street Project's not in that number?
No. No, these are actually line items that are storm-related repairs and preparation. So anything down to the smallest expense of getting plastic to cover your computers are related in this.
And I thought that Third Street project was a storm-related expense as well.
It is, but it's a repair. So they want to know, do these expenses include the stormwater repair? But that's more of the capital. This is actually just expense line items, correct?
No. We've been an additional 800,000.
Correct.
Exactly. So it's an additional line. It's more of a capital. These are truly just.
Have you attempted to come up with anything by way of an overall estimate of your net impact on reserves, assuming that you pay the expenses that are either encumbered or already paid, and I guess you're counting on short-term loan financing for some of the expenses or not?
So not for these.
Not for these. I understand for the one that the 700 grand or 800 grand that you talked about earlier, but so these are not going to be financed in any way with short-term financing.
No.
They're out of pockets that are going to be reimbursed by FEMA, hopefully.
Within
Right.
a couple of years.
Within a couple of years.
Yeah.
Pending reimbursement. Before reimbursement occurs, have you made an estimate of what the impact's going to be on your reserves?
Yes.
What is it?
So we have that it's going to be roughly 14%. That's where the reserves will add.
So it draws down from 19 to 14?
Yes.
Which is
19. 60.
That's the
Well, no.
recommended.
Recommended is 16.67.
Recommended is 16.67.
And
Okay.
we were sitting at about 19.1, and we're now drawing down to just above 14%.
And of course, that's rough.
Plus or minus 10%.
We hope. One could dream, right?
Any questions? Any other questions? You know, storm-related expenses are things that it's very difficult to calculate. And, you know, it just for us, it's a good thing that we do have some reserve built up to kind of deal with those issues. So, you know, for lack of a better term, we kind of weather the storm and go forward. Hoping that there's some budget savings again this year to help us build reserves back up. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Becker. Moving on, item number 7, Gem City Blue Crab and Bass Bash, special events permit, special events 18-28, grant permission to exceed allowable noise levels. We authorize closure of certain streets to vehicular traffic during the festival event. Waive application deadline for Gym City, Blue Crab, and Bass Pass, Saturday, 5/26/18, from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. City of Palatka, Mayor Terrell Hill applicant. Mr. Poston.
Each of you have in front of you some of the things we have to consider tonight as we talk about doing something on May 26th of this year. So what's being proposed is the Gym City Blue Crab and Bass Bash on Saturday, May the 26th, 2018. So there'll be a bass tournament as well as events going on down at the riverfront. What we have in front of you tonight is one of the things that you'll have to consider in approving. It's a vendor list, it's a form, but in terms of the event itself, we're going to need you to approve it because it hasn't been approved, and this body would have to do that. And there are several things that we want you to keep in mind as you make this decision to approve it. So some of staff is going to come and kind of give us challenges or areas where we may need to consider and get your approval for me to be able to address any potential issues that may arise in the best fashion possible in terms of public safety and things of that nature. But at its core, it was a desire to allow citizens to have something to come out and bring their families to participate in on the riverfront. And so what's being proposed is to have an event where there will be bounce houses, there will be crabs, there will be other food, there will be drinks, sodas and water at this time and things like that. We'll have tents set up, and tables and chairs. Several of the things you have to keep in mind is that we are the applicant, the city, so a lot of the things that traditionally would be paid for from outside will have to be paid for from inside the city, from some of our funds, or even possibly, if it's available, CRA funding as well may possibly be used on this event. But this event is one in which, as you'll see in your pack, that's really meant to try to bring the community together to do something in place of Blue Crab on that particular Sunday. I'm going to have Chief Shaw come up first and discuss any just challenges or things that we may need to keep in mind and be aware of as we move forward, possibly with this event, should you guys decide you want to do that.
Mr. Folsom, Commissioners, for me, it's not necessarily more of a legal issue on the side of public safety, but more so on a staff issue. I'm not sure, being that this is our first year event, I'm not sure necessarily how I'm going to gauge the event on the staff level, depending on how many citizens or how many patrons we may have to come to the event. So my challenge is only going to be staffing it, and how do I approach staffing it for a local number, so to make sure that we can have safety for the citizens down at the riverfront. The other things that may come up is just more of a ripple effect that we would worry about controlling on the afterglow. Other than that, we don't have any legal issues that we have or anything that's going to be affected or any other concerns that, for us, right off the top of my head, outside of staffing and, again, the total number of citizens.
Thank you. Chief Grimes.
Good evening, thank you. Just a few little things I had that was just from things we've dealt with in the past, the weekend of being the same particular weekend. It's usually a very hot and very cumbersome weekend on the citizens that walk the streets that day. So we've always had problems with heat exhaustion, and in the past we've always had a facility available to us for a cool down station, first aid, rehab, stuff like that. I don't know that we're going to get in this short of notice. I mean, we could try, I'm just not sure we're going to get it right away. We run on the average of 15 to 20 calls a day in the peak times of the festival downtown this time of year. With our staffing, I'm in the same boat as Chief Shaw, just don't know how much we need to put down there. And it's also going to be a draw on our staff because it's a holiday weekend. And they've already got time planned off, so I just don't know how we'll make it work. I just, it's going to be a hard time kind of trying to gauge it. Also, we're going to provide an EMS ambulance. Once it hits 1,001 people, I think is the number, we'll have to provide an EMS ambulance down there, which is a rate I think I got from Chief Romay. He told me yesterday was going to be around $150 an hour. during the festival unless we can get part of that waived. But that's just something we're going to have to work on with staff as well for the next couple of weeks. One thing I have with people bringing their own ability to bring down their own stuff and be able to cook, just some housekeeping things that was going to be real hard is unsecured propane tanks. People do bring gasoline down there, trust me, they bring them down there to fill generators on back of food trucks and such. With our children running around down there, and people not knowing to bring or having to bring the proper stuff to secure tanks with and stuff like that. It's nothing we can't work through, but we're just going to need to be able to get this message out to people to tell them, hey, if you're going to bring a propane tank down, we need to make sure we got like a milk crate or something to set it in, so somebody doesn't happen to trip over, fall over, rip it over, pull a hot pile of grease or water on somebody. You know, that's the only thing that concerns me as far as people being able to meander through just everybody cooking down on the riverfront. And just securing our trip hazards, we have that throughout any event we've had. We've had them at the airport, we've had them everywhere else, you know, where people are just, you know, tripping and falling. And it's just one of those things that, as staff, we're going to have to keep an eye on while we're at a festival like that we usually get some help through different organizers. And also just, well, we usually have the mobile command center from the sheriff's office because that event, it can get to be that big because it's been that big in the past. I'm not saying this one is, but they secure our communications for us. They are able to dispatch our police, they're able to dispatch our fire units that are on site of just a festival of possibly this magnitude. Other than that, that's the areas of concern or consideration I think that we just need to make sure we're all aware of.
Thank you. And so those were just mentioned so to let you know that should we move forward with this, those are areas that I'll have to address, and we're going to be willing to address those things. Those things are going to require us, just one of the ideas we have is to make sure we partner with the people in terms of putting something out there for residents so they know what they can and cannot bring, so they're well aware in advance, letting vendors know what you can and can't do and what to be aware of. BBPR may be there to do inspections, and that cost us $91. And they can do the permits right there on the spot. And if you've been to Blue Crab, you've probably participated in that before. But really, I had them come because we want to make sure we educate the public as much as possible what you can and cannot do. Because should the board decide to move forward, we want to make sure that it's a comfortable environment, a safe environment, and as well as that people know what to expect. The last thing you want people to do is to show up and they don't know what to expect, and now they've been tasked with certain expenses and certain things that they're not sure of. So we want to make sure we partner with all of our community partners to get the word out there in the appropriate way. I will be asking the county, in terms of EMS costs, to waive that, or at least partner with us on the event that they absorb that cost on our behalf. I'll let you know what they decide to do in that regard. Also keep in mind, because it is our event, we are going to have, Palatka's going to probably end up doing water and soda for us at that event. We have purchased an ice truck. Well, we haven't purchased it yet, but we've gotten the invoices in of what the cost is going to be on the ice truck, providing about 70 bags of ice, as well as tents, as well as tables and chairs, because our facilities are being rented out on that particular day as well. As they mentioned in terms of staff, I would hope that if you do decide to go down this road, that you give me some level of latitude and authority in terms of adjusting staff time and things like that, because those are also considerations. I've been asked, so I definitely want to make it clear, staff is not being forced to participate in this event. We cannot do that. We can ask them, and hopefully some of them do want to come out and help us and assist us in this event. As we move forward, we'll be getting with all the nonprofits, should this be something that the commission wants to go forward with, to see what they possibly could help us and assist us out in some areas at this notice. But at the end of the day, we're going to need a community to help us pull this off, not just the city. I believe the city, should we desire to go down this path, is doing it just from the heart of simply wanting to do something in terms of this event. Keep in mind that there's also going to be an extreme bass tournament occurring in the morning portion down at the boat docks. So that's something that's going to be occurring. So when we talk about noise, ordinance, and variances, those are the type of things we need to keep in mind. We're going to have portalets should you guys decide to do this. We've looked at having 10 portalets in a couple of washing stations. Should we decide to go down this road and move in this direction. Sanitation will operate as they would if it was one of the days of the Blue Crab Festival as well. You have, as well attached to this, a rough diagram of where we're possibly talking about putting the bouncy houses, where we're talking about putting vendors, and where we're talking about putting individuals that may want to come and bring their own food to cook and to prepare. And so we've kind of tried to map those things out in terms of parking. But as we move closer to the event, a lot of things are going to change. So should you move in this direction tonight, I would ask you to give me the authority and the leeway to be able to make some of these decisions without you guys, because it's going to take that to be able to push this thing across the line and make it what it needs to be, if this is indeed something that you guys want to move forward with and want to do. Do you have any questions before we move on?
Yes, what's your recommendation and what's the overall cost? Because it seems like we have a lot of unknowns for the most part.
It's going to vary. That's an excellent question. Right now, I can't even get close to tell you what that ultimate cost is going to be, because we have to see whether or not we have a partner that wants to pay for the water, wants to pay for sodas in advance, that may want to donate some of those services, as well as even staff time. That number is going to vary. We're going to staff up. The last thing we would want to happen is to have a bunch of people show up, which we believe is a great possibility, considering how many people showed up with such short notice on the MLK Day, as well as those individuals that are going to already be in town for graduation, especially for that group of people who are not going to know that the Blue Craft Festival has been canceled, and then for that group of people that just loves crafts like my family, they are excited and ready to come should we have it. So they're going to be costs that really right now tonight I couldn't give you. And I'll be honest with you, they're probably going to be costs that as we move closer to the event, I'll be able to give you a better idea, but I think ultimately there may be costs that occur on the day of the event that I can't give you until after the event.
Then we got to talk about, can the budget support it, as well as where would the money come from? Would it all come from general? Would it come from CRA, or a combination of both? And that's what
the budget would have to come from a combination of both. I would recommend that we did a combination of both. I would not recommend that the general fund bears the brunt of this alone. I'm going to say there's possibly a chance, and the only reason I'm saying possibly a chance because we haven't had that meeting yet, to get some dollars from the CRA to help us fund this particular event. It's not a festival, but it's vast, so there's a possibility of that. But I would recommend that we exhaust that option as well to help us fund this, should you guys want to move in that direction to fund this event.
Well, I remember from a previous meeting that the mayor said that there was a group of citizens that was trying to band together to help make this happen. Where are we with that? Are they still trying to, and this was before the city even said that we would put our hat in the ring. Where does that stand, and are they still willing to invest in this if we are to move forward?
Well, when I talked to the group since that time, they pulled back off of the Blue Craft Festival only because of the time constraints in trying to put together a festival, a multi-day festival. This particular idea came about simply because Blue Craft takes up that entire Memorial Day weekend. You're talking 4 days of different people coming in throughout the community. And what we find is those are big days for merchants in the downtown area. They're also big days for citizens to come out and gather. And it's a big day for tourism in Palatka. My idea was just to put something together which didn't have a significant impact on budget, which allowed citizens to be able to gather. I don't know if you can recall in the past when they had boat races in downtown or things of that nature, when people would actually come out and cook out on their own in the community. What I envisioned was something which is more like a community cookout as opposed to something that looks like a festival. My biggest concern is that this thing doesn't morph into a festival per se, just because of where it is. You know, there's no way that in a couple of weeks you can put together the Blue Craft Festival or anything that mimics the Blue Craft Festival, and there's no way that we should be trying to do that. What we should be trying to do, I think, is to be able to provide an option for citizens to come together in lieu of Blue Craft, at a limited cost, putting together a budget which says this is what we're doing, this is what's going to be provided, but we just want citizens to come together to listen to some music, to cook out, kind of like how you tailgate at a football game, something to that effect, and gather, have local bands. I've talked to the Arts Council. Denise Akins is willing to take on the endeavor of having the local bands come into place. We were able to put MLK together with a minimal budget, and we had about 500 people show up there. And it didn't break the bank, but it allowed folks to gather and have something that was beneficial. I see this being kind of the same thing, and I think I honestly think if we put too much into it, I don't want to spend a bunch of money on this event. you got enough community partners to be available to do this and not spend all that money and try to, because you can't mimic the Bluegrass Festival, and I don't want it to blow up.
I think I'm all for trying to have something, but even though we're not trying to mimic the Blue Crab Festival, I think by putting Blue Crab in it, just putting Blue Crab in it alone, that's going to draw a crowd, and that's because they're so used to having the Blue Crab Festival. So if we were trying to do something, we could have just left Blue Crab out completely and did something else. I think the name is going to be that draw simply because that weekend is associated with Blue Crab Festival. No matter how we not try to mimic, it's going to be one compared simply because it still has Blue Crab in it. And I think a lot of people from our area, once we got notification that Blue Crab was canceled, a lot of people went ahead and started making alternate plans. I'm one of them. But again, those are things that we have to take in consideration, even though I'm all for trying to have something, trying to come together, trying to birth our own, but still we put ourselves at a disadvantage by putting Blue Crab in the name of the day that's trying to happen.
And there are a few questions that I have. First of all, it's 16 days away. This sounds bigger than what it was when the idea was brought up in the last meeting that we were just going to do a low country boil. But this is big now. We only have 16 days. I'm concerned about us trying to rush and put things together. We really don't know the cost of it. Asking staff to alter their plans or whatever they may have. We're saying we're having to rent out, go outside and rent out tables and chairs because ours are already rented out. Those are some of the things that I'm concerned about, the budget and the time. I just feel that we need more time to plan and not just rush and jump into this thing. Because it's going to impact it's going to impact staff in a certain way and us as well. I just think we're not in the know about a lot of things right now. I want it to be successful, but I think it's too many underlying factors that may hinder that, the success of the vision that we have.
That's fair.
Well, would it be amenable to maybe combine it with something like the 4th of July, whatever, and we can kind of have something prior to the fireworks or whatever to celebrate during that time? And I think we can have a better timing with planning, pulling people together, staffing levels, another thing. I support, I really like the idea. I love the event with bringing the people together, but timing of this whole thing, I think, is going to be really, really the pinch.
Because I honestly think that and we pray for the success, but if it's a flop, the citizens, that's going to be a reflection of us
on the commission.
As a full commission. And then obviously, there's a lot that have been taking place even prior to that we were not privy to, and I just think that was, and I know we're trying to make something happen, but again, I would want to put off to make sure that we reflect what we want the actual bash to be. And I just don't want to put something out and it not have it's all put into it. And I believe that we all, even with the conversation that we had at the joint meeting with the commissioners on the county level, everybody wants to see something happen. Nobody does not want to see anything not happen. So I think this would be the perfect opportunity for us to come together and give birth to what we want to have. I still think that we can provide music down at the riverfront. I still think that we can provide certain entities during that weekend. But as far as putting it out there that we are hosting something that we have a blind budget to, I think we put ourselves in a position to there's a whole lot of uncertainties. And I don't feel comfortable, and I trust your leadership. I don't question your leadership. However, I question how we're trying to expedite a event where we're 16 days out, we're meeting today, and there's a lot of uncertainties with regards to the budget. Just last meeting, we were questioning where $8,000 was going to come from. So now we don't know what this is going to cost, so we still have the question of where this money is going to come from.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. one of the things that I share with Mr. Poston is, I felt like a $5,000 cap would be where it needed to be if you're talking about doing a community cookout. I think one of the things that the concern was, once it morphs into something bigger, that's one of the issues. And so, when I envisioned the community cookout, it was a small scale event. And I think, I think it's grown based upon, the belief that it has to be properly planned from a larger scale to do that. And that's kind of the intangible as far as where we are. And so I think the numbers that he ran originally to put the tent out to get the music and do the other stuff was under $3,500. But I think the issue is when you start to plan out where you are from a staffing standpoint, where those costs are, those costs haven't been calculated, and it is an unknown. And any time you're trying to put a filler in place, that's what it is. But that's the reason that we have this meeting, is so that I can hear the concerns of everyone here, because it's not a decision that I can make independently. It's a decision that has to be made collaboratively from this board. And you guys have to either be willing to stand by it or find some other alternative, or we kind of step out and wait until the next festival season comes up, and that's where we are. But I think, all your concerns are definitely relevant. I want to call Jeff Rawls up. He has a speaker card for this event.
Jeff Rawls, 11 Car Street. One concern that I haven't heard raised is the fact that the application that was put online this morning was completely blank. Part of the application requires whoever's signing it to indemnify the city. So if the city holds the city harmless, that means you're putting us in the position of being harmful. It also said that y'all were looking to sell alcohol. I've not heard anybody utter the word alcohol. We're going to be selling alcohol from the river to 7th Street, from Reed Street to Oak Street. Ms. Williams got a question mark look on her face, but that's what it said in the application. So you guys are looking to sell alcohol, and that's just not been discussed. I think Justin is absolutely correct. This is a little bit short-timed, and something else needs to be researched. And you have a lot of civic groups. Nobody mentioned the Kiwanis, Rotary, Lions, any of those groups. I myself am a Rotarian, and we do fundraisers. It takes a lot of effort to put something together just for one night. We prepare for a year. So I would encourage you to take a step back, take the next year, start planning this out. But one question I'd like to hear answered is, who's going to be the liquor vendor with the liquor license?
It's not for me to say.
But that's what the application says. I would encourage you to read your application. Thank you.
Liquor kitchens.
Liquor Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. I agree in part with Mr. Rawls. I read the application, and the first part of the application and the back part didn't agree. It looked like we were doing alcohol. It said sites were to be determined. There was no map in the packet. But regardless of all of that, I think this is not a bad idea, but it's too soon. You can't get a big festival in line in 16 days. You all have an events permit, a festival permit that you put on record for a reason. And I think if the city bypasses their own ordinance, I don't think that's a good thing. If you're going to have sound down there, you have to suspend your sound ordinance. If you're going to serve alcohol, you have to suspend your alcohol ordinance. I don't think that was advertised in tonight's meeting. You all, of course, could have declared an emergency and do it. I don't think that this is a good idea at this time. If you're not serving alcohol yourselves, or even if you are, you're having people down there bringing their own food. Who's going to monitor if they bring alcohol? If you don't suspend the alcohol ordinance, you have an ordinance, a state law, and a city ordinance against alcohol in public parks. So you're going to have a problem monitoring that. And when Chief Brown was talking about the propane tanks and the problems with that, that did not even enter my mind. And that is very clear and present danger. I'm sure we have enough liability. You have enough liability insurance for something like that. But I think there's legal issues you have to look at. And as far as getting money from the CRA, I think it might be, you all are going to be voting as a CRA on giving money to the city. And it would be, in essence, it would be benefiting you. And you can't vote on something that benefits you monetarily. Now, maybe because you're a nonprofit or you're a city government, that would be fine. But I'm just curious about how the CRA can vote to give the city money.
How would it benefit us?
Because you bring people into the city, you're putting it on, and you're making money off of it.
How are you making money?
Well, you find out when you get the invoices in, won't you? But I think what Mr. Morris said about combining this with the 4th of July, call it a Blue 4th or something like that, or Gym City 4th, combine it this year with the 4th of July. That's a splendid idea. You have time to plan for it. You have time to get everything in order. And then if you want to do this next year, then go ahead and start planning. Blue Crab start planning a year ahead of time. And so I think that would be the way to do it. But if you're going to have sound, you better suspend the sound ordinance, because I tell you what, if I hear my windows rattling out there, it's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. I'm telling you. I've been down that road before.
And we don't need her in a bad mood.
No, I'm in a good mood.
I have a request. I think, Commissioner Bourne, the idea that he had was one that I've talked about and considered. I think, for me, I would love to see something happen. But I would make the request that we put a petition out to our city and our county, our civic organizations, all of those individuals, to see if we would have a buy-in in form of a workshop. We workshop everything else. I don't think this is something that we would not want to workshop. I think it would be beneficial to the city and our county as a whole if we have a lot more input within this festival, because again, I truly believe that even with just Blue Crab being in there, it's going to be a draw. It's going to be a draw.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of people, they're still going to associate it with the Blue Crab Festival. So my request would be that we postpone the Gem City Blue Crab Bass Bash, which is a tongue twister. And I think that we come back to the table and bring all of those that were interested, being the county, if they're the only people that come, to see if we can plan something that's true to what Palatka really wants to present. We understand that the Blue Crab Festival, they dropped the ball, and that was very disheartening to a lot of our citizens. But again, in trying to make something happen, we still want to make sure that what we put out there is a true reflection of the city of Palatka and Putnam County as a whole. And that can be served as a motion as well.
Second.
Thank you, I'm done.
Oh. Second.
We got another card. We got a motion on there. Let me before we, if you can hold your motion,
I can.
for public comment. Yes, sir. You want to come up, Mr. Dutras? I don't think I got your card, but just state your name for the record. Fill the card out for me.
Norm Dutras, 412 Mulholland Park here in Palatka. First, I have to commend you people for stepping forward and doing something positive. And all of this is positive going forward, trying to do something for the community, for the people, and basically at no cost to the people. The total cost of it would be minimal for the total results. But at the same time, rather than try to knock it with negatives of one type or another, or all types of other innuendos, I think somebody has stepped forward to try to do something positive. We should look at it in a positive vein and say, give it a shot. You know, let's face it, Blue Crab Festival did their thing, they televised by side, but on the other hand, stepping forward and having something Memorial Day weekend for the citizens. You can have the parade, but at the same time, this would be a nice addition. Thank you.
May I say something before we go? I'd like to have the county come in and get with us and really make this thing known. There may be some other things that we could do one night. In some cities, they put up, they show old movies at the waterfront. That doesn't cost a lot of money. There might be something simple that could be done. But the time is so short, I'd like to see us really go with what Mr. Campbell and Forum have said and really get something planned so we knock it out the park. And it'll be something that people will want to continue to come to. And I think that the folks that have let us down with this, our craft festival and taking that name and copyrighting it might have done us a favor because it gives us a chance maybe to start something that will really mean something for the city.
City Blue Crab and Dash, in hopes of having a workshop to move forward with the possibilities of hosting a festival/event. I'm trying to not be so wordy, but I'm trying to get everything in. In lieu of trying to aim for a later date.
Question. There's a motion on the floor.
We were trying to aim something.
No, in lieu of, okay, stop, scratch, rewind.
So, question, Commissioner, would you be okay with just voting down this and we
Yes,
come back
yes,
and work on something else?
Yes, I make a motion that we reject the item number 7 and come back with another option.
Second.
Motion on the floor, second, further discussion.
Question.
Questions called quickly. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-1. I do want to say that my name is only because I want to see something at the riverfront. And I wholeheartedly agree with all the concerns that you guys have. I would love to see at least some gathering of some type down at the riverfront for Memorial Day, so that it's not that we give up on the weekend, but I definitely respect the responses that you guys had, and I think they're all on point.
I think we need to go ahead and schedule that workshop immediately so that we can have a lot of time to plan for the 4th of July also.
And I have a question, do we still have this meeting on Monday with the CRA?
And if not, could that be?
And
We can meet on Monday.
We can also put it on the agenda for, we can also put it on the agenda for our joint commission meeting to talk to the county
May
about
5th.
the issues.
Is it
So,
the 5th?
but would that be sufficient? I guess the biggest issue is going to be from a notice standpoint. If you're talking about using that time to discuss these items, then you got to make sure you comply with some of the notice.
I mean, I think we have a good skeleton of what was previously done, so I don't think we're coming in to completely reinvent a wheel. We do have a good thing to go by, so if we can get with them rather sooner than later, I think that we would have ample enough time to make sure that we adhere to all requirements and requests that are due not only to the city, but if we have to do anything for the county as well.
All right.
Talk to some of those people that have festivals. Catfish Festival has been going on for a while, and you know kind of what we have to plan for.
Right. Moving on to item 8 on the agenda, City Manager and Administrator reports. Chief Shaw. Very long one, too. Mr. Griffin. Ms. Robinson.
No, sir. Commissioner Campbell has
Mr. Yule.
No, sir.
Chief.
Maybe we'll keep it status quo.
Ms. Becker.
I won't break the trend.
Ms. Presley, we want to welcome you to the commission meetings as well. You have anything? Ms. Triggers.
No, sir.
Mr. Holmes. Vice Mayor.
I'd like to thank you for the effort that you put to try to get something going on. I think that we're going to miss the crab festival because it's been a thing that's drawn a lot of people here. But I think we're going to come out with a better deal. And I hope y'all have a blessed weekend.
I'm sorry, Mr. Folsom, I skipped you.
Want to thank Betsy Grigger, our clerk. Betsy has worked in the city tirelessly for many, many years. She's a jack of all trades. She does so much for the city. And I want to thank Miss Rosalind Presley, who's actually my assistant now. And Betsy has been working with Rosalind, has been showing her some of the things that she does. We know she does a lot, but she's been showing Rosalind some of the things that she does. And I appreciate Betsy for doing that because somebody who has that level of institutional knowledge, who cares about the city of Palatka, cares about this governmental unit, has given so much of her time and effort. I want to know that I appreciate her, this city appreciates the work she's done, and I'm always encouraged by people who are apt to teach others, and Betsy is that person. So I wanted to tell her I appreciate you tonight, let you know that from everybody for the work you've done, and thank the commission for the direction we're going to move forward in any direction, in any way that you see fit. Please know that we have some things that are going to be coming back before you guys in terms of rates Those going to be decisions that you're going to have to make in the near future. Other than that, that's all I have tonight.
Commissioner Moore.
Again, I'd like to thank the city manager for providing that business continuity of what have you with getting all them trained up. Betsy being the trainer of what have you to keep the city moving forward or whatever in case if Betsy happened to maybe leave us or what have you. But long story short, and I'd like to thank the mayor for coming forward with the event. He has his heart in this city, in this community, and wholeheartedly support the event. Just looking forward to 4th of July and looking for people to come on board to help and assist with this. That's all I have.
Mr. McCaskill.
9.
Mr. Campbell. Yes, we are in the process of just accepting applications still. We have approximately 20 students, high school students and college students who have applied for the internship. On Sunday, Ms. Robinson and I will come and pull and go through the actual application in hopes of setting up interviews. The program is set to start June 7th. It's an 8-week program through August 1st, and we're just super excited about it. I know PAL, we're conducting interviews yesterday and today with regards to their interns, and they're looking to solidify really soon. We are partnering with the Data Busters program. As of now, they are going to provide our staffing for the River Center Monday through Thursday. So we're definitely excited about what it is that's going to happen for the youth of our city and the young adults of our city, providing them opportunities to get workforce experience here at home. Just a conversation that we had with, outside that, Chief Shaw had with a young lady who was here for the Student of the Month who wanted to be a police officer, and he extended that hand for her to come. And those are the kind of things that we want to provide. I know Chief Grimes, you can ring it a little bit later. Chief Grimes does a really good job of outreach as well. So we're super excited about what's going on and actually taking into account our youth. Mayor, again, I am greatly appreciative of you and the vision that you have for this city and wanting to put something on at the riverfront. But again, just knowing who you are as a person, I know you don't want to have anything that's not a true reflection of the positivity of what we have and the camaraderie that we have here in this great city. So we definitely think and we look forward to having you lead us in the future to have something that represents this county and city.
I just want to thank my commission. This is the nicest commission ever vote something down you bring it forward. That's always good when you get voted down to low. I want to make sure that we also welcome Tangi Archer, who's the newest member to the Code Enforcement Board. She's also one of the first Call Your Blocker scholars with St. John's River State College. And remember the presentation from President Pickens a few months ago. But I also want to talk a little bit about baseball. We find ourselves now in a situation where baseball is becoming real for the city of Palatka. The lights are going in, the poles are up. They're stringing electrical wire through now, and in a couple of weeks we will be turning lights on at our baseball fields. RBI Baseball just sent 23 boxes of equipment for 5 leagues for girls and 5 leagues for boys. So Little League Baseball is becoming a reality back in Palatka. We have 70 kids who've already signed up for this program. Already 70 kids. Major League Baseball is also committed to doing camps and providing uniforms so we can reduce costs for children to play baseball in the inner city. Their Reviving Baseball in the Inner City program has adopted Palatka as an affiliate city. And we are ready to move forward. Our business owners have moved forward and they've pledged. We've got at least 14 already who've made pledges to support teams this year. PAL has actually helped us with sign-ups, and so we're continuing to move forward with baseball. Lastly, Quint Studer came in here. We want to thank Pastor Robert Mills for having Quint Studer in here from Pensacola. Had an opportunity to talk to Electric Kitchens today, and we both took extensive notes. But the one thing that Mr. Studer was able to tell us is that it can't be done just through government. It can't be done just through the city. It has to be public and private money to build this community up. I'm excited about what's happening in Palatka. We've got dirt turning, we've got houses being built, and we've got people becoming innovative and active in this community. John Nelson, again, thank you for the many years that you've served in this community. You are truly a Putnam County at this time. We appreciate you and all the efforts that you put forth. The many years that you served on the PAL board, the many years that you served on the Weed and Seed board, and all those different capacities. We appreciate you and the efforts and the life that you've impacted here in the city of Palatka. We thank you for all of that. I'm going to ring the bell on myself. We're going to be adjourned because we're excited.